Well, welcome again to Fair Business Australia, a podcast by the people for the people. We are on video chat today, and I'm so excited and honoured to have with me Ben and Sarah from New Earth Cafe. I have interviewed Sarah previously about her unlawful arrest that is now going through the court system, and she is winning, which is great because when we band together, we do all win. But I've brought them on again today to give an update as to, where they're up to, how they're feeling emotionally, what is life like in their community, et cetera, et cetera. So Ben and Sarah, welcome. Thank you for coming today.
Thanks, Beck. Hi, everyone.
So beautiful. Thank you. So if you can tell the people who aren't aware of New Earth Cafe, what is New Earth Cafe? Why should we pay attention to your story? What's happened to you in the last few months?
Do you want me to just do a little quick?
Yeah, go for it.
Well, so New Earth Cafe, we've been in the community for about 7 years plus now, and edging 8 years, and we've always been about public health. We've just had amazing results through our own journey, just eating better, cleaner diet, lifestyle, and we're just inspired to share what we've learned, create that sort of hub of conscious, healthy type living, and that's just been our main focus. And over these 8 years, we've just grown this beautiful, like-minded community of people that are on the journey, or people that have, like ourselves, had an illness or a condition that they've tried through mainstream allopathic medicines and stuff. They haven't had any results, and all of a sudden it was just a simple switch to a healthy diet or something, or a cleaner lifestyle. And that's just been our goal, just to sort of share and create this hub where we learn off people, and there's this beautiful, it's just really all about public health.
And I see you're sitting in your yoga studio there, because I took a look at your website the last time that I interviewed Sarah, and you're not just a holistic health cafe, you actually do other services as well. So Sarah, could you want to tell us a bit about your yoga and different services that you provide?
Yeah, so we have a 4-acre property out Ninderry where we hold regular breath work and sound healing and yoga sessions. And then my mum also does aerial yoga. So we've got lots happening, and the same community kind of mixes between the two. And, we love the lifestyle that we've created in the space. And it's a place where people can just come and heal, and it brings a little bit of peace, when world sometimes is so fast-paced. It's a to just come and drop in for a day or a couple of hours, and people really appreciate that. And a lot of people comment on it, like, thank you, I can come here twice a week, and I can just feel my nervous system relaxing again. So it's a big part of health, as well as finding those places of peace where you can off for a few hours.
So good. And I'm looking at your studio now, and I've taken a look at your website, and I'm aware as to what you do. And it seems to me that having a police presence 17 times, I mean, it's not like you're selling meth. It's not like you're cooking up cocaine in the back, or like, what have you guys done to come under such police scrutiny over the last few months that culminated in finally Sarah, in front of Ben, getting thrown into a paddy wagon that wasn't even switched on, so there was no air conditioning, and she was baking alive in the hot sun, and then promptly put into a freezing cold cell where she wasn't given a blanket, and she was told that you might be here for the next however many days until your arraignment, something like 28 days, and Ben's not even allowed to talk to Sarah, and absolutely just treated like a criminal. What have you guys done to be treated that way? Can you shed any light on that at all?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question, because when something like that happens to you, like, I'd never had a previous interaction with police ever before in my life, so 38 years old. So it was quite shocking, and it was quite frightening, and it all kind of escalated pretty quickly. And it was all off the back of I have a medical exemption for a mask, and I'm happy to share why I can't wear a mask. And I know that's, you don't have to, but a number of our staff members also have medical exemptions. So for me, it's because I had a collapsed lung in a car crash. And my doctor said to me, you know, you put a mask on and you will very quickly develop bacterial pneumonia. I need to have my airways free. And I've been maintaining good health and looking after my lungs for a long time, but definitely putting a mask on, I'll get a headache and I'll feel pretty sick pretty quickly. And it's really hard, I'm sure many cafes can agree, to run a busy cafe with blenders, mixers and cooking and coffee machine, and then trying to serve customers and trying to get enough air and to feel like you can do an 8-hour shift. So for us, you know, at the start of all of this, when the first mask mandates came in, we said to the staff, you know, like, we have medical exemptions. If you wish to get medical exemptions, go and see your GP, go and discuss it, go and get one. If you don't feel like you can work with a mask on, we totally understand, because we can't. So 3 members didn't, and the rest got medical exemptions, all for all sorts of different reasons. And a lot of them being around anxiety and things like that, and having their own health conditions, the actual reason why they work in a safe space like New Earth Cafe. So that was why the police came. It was because we weren't wearing masks. And I believe there was a few members of the public that would have reported that, but also we have pathology across the road. And, you know, sadly, we had some pathology members walking over to customers at the cafe tables and telling them not to eat there. So I'm not sure who it was, but we had reports, and so the police had to do their job and come down, but the way they dealt with it and the number of visits was definitely not reflective of the amount of complaints.
And see, with the actual the law that they were enforcing, you know, the delegation of authority, it was just like they just kept switching and swapping. So we got our exemptions, and then it was, oh, it doesn't matter if you got exemptions, you still have to wear them now. I'm like,
wow.
Yeah, first, have an exemption, that's fine. Oh yes, you have an exemption, okay. See you, have a good day. And then the next day it was like, no, we don't care about these medical exemptions anymore. And, you know, questions like, do you have a medical exemption because you're mentally ill? Or do you know you're killing people? Or,
wow.
you know, do you understand the danger you're putting people's lives in? Just, it became a complete different agenda. It was almost like, we are the hub in the community. Let's teach them a lesson, and let's show everyone else that this is what will happen if you choose to get a medical exemption. You know, people were so scared. Our customers were crying. I was getting a number of messages saying, we would love to support you, but we don't want to come down there because we're really scared. You know, I had police yelling at mothers with babies strapped to them, or mums holding their children's hands, being told they weren't allowed to come inside our cafe without a mask on, when they had just been at Coles shopping and had not had a problem the very same day. So, yeah, it was definitely something bigger. And I think that, you know, they were sent down almost daily to exaggerate the situation and to exhaust us. It did work. I mean, you know, I felt like I was trying to run a business, which is hard enough. And then with that constant fear of, you know, how long am I going to have to speak to the police today? What are they going to do today? What are they going to say? What fine are they going to throw at me today? Is one of my staff members going to need to go sit in the car and cry? Is one of my staff members going to say, I can't come to work tomorrow, it's getting too much? Because it's all happened.
Yeah, it was interfering with commerce on so many levels.
It was exhausting. And I mean, the staff are amazing. They've done so well. No staff member, most of them under 25, should have to, you know, put up with that.
Yeah.
It's hard just running a busy cafe, let alone having to then answer to police over and over again the same questions.
Absolutely. Oh gosh, you've all been through so much. So a lot of the business owners that I attended small business mandate meetings with, they were all about will not comply, will not comply. But then the 17th hit, and a lot of them folded because the anxiety and the tension was just too great. Now, unfortunately, a lot of those businesses who have folded, it's now been directly reflected in their bottom line because, and I'm seeing videos of this and photographic evidence, it's no secret that the patronage has fallen away. They're not even getting the customers in through the door. So if we are at 80%, why have all of a sudden the 80% chosen to just sit at home? And the businesses who are not complying are seeing conversely the opposite effect. So they're getting a lot of patrons coming in and supporting them. So that was pre-December 17th, what you were going through with your mask mandates. Why did you, some would say, create a rod for your own back? Why didn't you just comply? Sarah, why didn't you just sit at home and go, well, I can't actually wear a mask, but my staff are just going to have to harden up, princess, because they're young and they're strong. Why didn't you just comply so that you could run your business? Why did it mean so much to you to stand for what you stood for?
There's a few reasons. I mean, first of all, I don't think I have the right to tell anyone else what to do. And most of my staff I know on a personal level, and I know their health conditions, lots of different health conditions. The reason why they gave up their jobs in the first place and came to work for me because they wanted to be in a healthy environment. So for me, it wasn't an option to sit at home and, I create all the recipes and do everything. I could not imagine the cafe running very long without me being present there. Ben's already not there a lot of the time. So I do have to be in there and, it's important. And again, in this stressful time, I can't expect my staff to work without me there. That's one reason. The second is, I do my research and I speak to my friends and doctors, and I know that putting a mask on wasn't going to do anything for preventing the spread of anything, and it was going to make us all more sick. I'm inhaling CO2, the bacteria that accumulates on the mask. Now we're seeing people who have had septicemia, who have had to go to hospital because they've had a mask on. People are getting headaches, migraines. I just didn't feel like it was a reasonable thing to do. We were doing all the reasonable things. We were cleaning the tables. We had the social distancing. We were reasonably protecting the staff, the customers. And lastly, it's like, if you see we're not wearing masks, don't come in. You get a choice. Plenty of places where you can go. If that makes you feel safe, absolutely go and support those places that are doing that. But for me, it was actually a lot of staff and a lot of customers felt more welcome there because they didn't feel discriminated against. And a lot of people who have got anxiety, who have got social anxiety, and especially people who are deaf and things like that, they feel comfortable in a space where we're not wearing masks and where we're being welcoming and we're smiling. And so, it was just important for me to create a safe place and a safe hub during those times as well. And that's why I just said, no, this is what we're doing. We're not breaking the law. And we're going to stand here with the community, in the community, with the support of the community.
Yeah, and
I love
that.
Mm.
That last bit is a big helping hand when, after so many encounters, it got to that stage where it was pretty much the day of Sarah's arrest that they were, coming heavy, and we're like, okay, this is a different agenda. It's going to lead to an arrest or something, or a court summons or something. The right people come out of the community, some that we actually didn't even know, but had sort of caught wind of what we were going through social media or word of mouth. And they just gave us some even just little scripts to follow in regards to the big interaction with the police that they were coming back. So it was sort of the one where we're okay, this is going to be an arrest or something. It sort of gave us that extra confidence. And I suppose that old saying, knowledge is power, could not be more true. Because It was had the knowledge, even though it was scripted, we were amateurs, but we just had the piece of paper. They have their iPads, they script from that. We were scripting and we just had the right knowledge passed on from a beautiful person in the community. They were actually standing with us on the day as well. So just that, the presence of just, the support of the community standing there when the police they're very good at what they do, and the intimidation and, not saying they're all about that, but this particular situation, it was all about, they had perfected to try and keep us in fear. And we had this script that just kept us from incriminating ourselves with the tricky questions and all the little stuff and for keeping us out of our own, lack of knowledge is lack of power. So, and that's lack of power is fear.
So good. So both of you have taken the time, first of all, to educate yourselves. So you're not just hurling abuse at people when they try and come in and tell you what the rules are, and you say, no, go away. You've actually both educated yourselves, and you've both made a very heart-centered decision on valuing community above unlawful mandates. Am I correct in that?
Definitely. You know, that's what it's about. It's staying in love and definitely never being abusive to authority when they come in either, but also expecting the same in return from them, which is important.
Yeah. And then when the rubber really hit the road and you needed your community, they were there for you. And I don't see a lot of community being there for people that when the community is following the narrative. I don't see a lot of that. I see a lot of fear. I don't see a lot of empowerment. But for people who are choosing heart-centered community, they are there to catch you when you fall. And you both have fallen. You have paid the price for this. You did have to go through legal proceedings, and you're still going through legal proceedings because now that they've changed the charges, was it 3 times they changed the charges once you were in court?
So I never actually got to go to court. I always had to stand outside the courtroom because they wouldn't let me in without a mask on. But they changed the charges 3 times, and then they dropped the charges at the very last hour, just before I had to be in court the next morning.
Wow. And okay, so you've still gone through a financial cost. You've certainly both gone through an emotional cost. And I spoke with Sarah about this quite at length. It's like, is it 24? You've got PTSD and you're rating it 37 or something like that?
Yeah. And, there's little things that I'll notice. So I'm very good with all my practices and eating well and meditation and yoga, but still, if I catch in a window or in the side of my vision, I might see someone in uniform, I feel my whole body tensing up again. And that's really sad for me because I've never had that experience with police before. And now, it's just immediately, as soon as I see a police car or a police officer or someone, I can just feel my whole body, melting down pretty much.
So given the financial cost, given the time cost, given the cost to your staff, the cost to your customers, and everything all conglomerated together, now that you're on the other side of your own personal historical journey, would you, if you could go back, would you just comply and avoid the whole thing?
No, because so many members of the community have said to us, thank you so much for taking a stand for all of us. And for me, it is so important, you know, to lead by my heart, and I wouldn't feel right if I didn't make that stand. And even though it's been exhausting and really tiring, and financially also, I mean, we're very lucky because we spend a bit of money ourselves, but we also had Rebel News did a few stories on us, and they came forward and helped to support us, and members of the community. And I mean, it's just so amazing to have community support. You could actually feel how many people really cared, and how many people, I mean, the day after my arrest, the line was out the door and people were just crying and wanting to hug me and wanting to support, because they knew that it was not right at all. And a lot of people said until that moment, they hadn't even woken up to the actual real story and the real situation. And for them, they said, you know, when you got arrested, Sarah, we know who you are as a person, and we know you would not have been violent, aggressive or abusive like the police and the media made you out to be. And for me, that was the last straw where I went, this is not okay. And so for a lot of people, it was through us was their way of also, you know, being able to make a stand, and just by coming down to support us through it all and not being scared. And the amount of customers that had to eat their food with police walking around them. One time my customers were just sitting eating their lunch, and the police just walked up to the table and said, what are you eating there? What's that? It's like the police presence, like, respect people. Just because you're wearing a uniform, you can't just choose to walk up to a table and ask people what they're eating, and then walk to the next table and ask people where their mask is, and then walk to the counter and tell someone to get out. You know, it's like, it was a real misuse of power. And the community saw that, and the community was very upset with that, and the community came together to stand up against that as well.
Have you seen any change in the police presence around your area as a whole? Have they kind of pulled their heads in? Have they rethought it? Have they actually potentially developed some community themselves? Because I know we've got cops for COVID Truth. Do you see any difference at all, or are they still just being silly heads?
Look, they haven't come in since the court case. But we see them at the other cafes without their masks on, and the cafes without their masks on. And so it was, sometimes cops harassing us on the same day, they would be seen getting a coffee 3 doors down without their masks on, without the waitress wearing a mask. So it was very targeted. And it was, you know, it was a lot of bullying, and that was, you know, some of the staff would just walk to go to the toilet or go pick something up, and they'll be like, the cops are over there not doing anything. So we haven't. I'm grateful as well, because you know, we're all about a peaceful, loving, happy vibe, and it just wasn't when they were there constantly.
Yes. So you're community leaders because of what you're doing, and you're bringing wholeness and wellness into the community. You're well known, which is probably why you were targeted. And we're seeing other community leaders now, 4 other places in particular: Mission Beach Tavern, Artichoke Cafe, No Ego Coffee, and Bar Wonder. Now, all of those have been vocal enough and are well known enough that they have been targeted. So what do you say, having walked through it, because Mission Beach, No Ego, Bar Wonder, Artichoke, they're all about to walk through their journey. You've walked through yours already. What would you say to other business owners who are still kind of trying to play on the line so that they just avoid where the line kind of, you can't really sit on the line. You either have to comply or not comply in this particular situation. What would you say to business owners who are trying to decide, do I count the cost of the emotional effect of being arrested and getting a fine and having to go to court versus the emotional cost of I'm disrupting my community, I'm turning people away who are my regulars, who I've known for years, I am forcing my staff to get vaccinated, and what if they have an adverse reaction? I don't know who's going to be liable for that, because right now everything that I'm hearing anecdotally on social media is that big pharma and big government are not going to be responsible, which means it comes back to me because I'm the one that coerced them to get in. So people that are weighing up the cost here, what would you say to them for moving forward and potentially having to go with this course of action? Do you feel like the community has supported you enough? Do you feel like the fundraising that has been done for you so far has been enough? What would you say to that?
I mean, it all really, really helps, and it's all just so great, all of the different aspects. And it's like, how do you feel in your heart when you discriminate? You know, where does that sit with you when you have your regulars able to come in on the 16th and share a coffee and sit down and smile and have a chat, and then the next day you say, I'm sorry? Like, for me, that just doesn't sit all right. And I think every person has to make that individual choice for themselves. For me, I know what my choice is. I do not want to be excluding anyone. I feel like most of the problems in the world are because we create segregation and separation, and we don't have enough community and love and connection. And I would be so embarrassed with my own behaviour if I looked back and I had treated people like that. So for me, it's just a no-brainer.
Yeah, and the opportunity in the tragedy. Like, I think we all know that the greatest shifts, the greatest you know, moving forward, like coming into higher purpose, higher places, always comes out of the back of an individual challenge. It's your individual experience. What's it mean to you? Like, we're all about just, you know, exploring our human potential, you know, eating better, you know, finding like how amazing the body is. This is just provided an opportunity for us to go into deeper levels of knowing who the hell we are. Like, I am a sovereign man. I'm actually not my name. And like all that stuff that's tied into this legal system, whether you know it or not, there's chains that I didn't know that were there. And it was like, all right, I'm going to use this as an educational program. You know, I had the blessing of these, I call them the gurus in blue, coming, checking on me every day. How are you going? Oh, have you found yourself yet? Oh, you have. Oh, you're standing in your truth. And that was just like, yes, it was a turnaround. Sure, it wasn't like that from the start. It was fear and like, oh shit, what have we done? Oh, how do we get out of this? But then it was like, okay, stop. You know, we're looking after ourselves even better. We're like fast, like we're having juice fast. We're getting right into the superfoods. You know, that all that stuff that really like motivated us to, you know, look at all aspects in our life, because you have to be vital, you know, to take on any challenge. So we're like, all right, yep, boom. And I think everyone's got an area of their life where they could sort of like, okay, yeah, I could probably do with less of that and, you know, more of that, which is good for me. You know, if that's all that comes out of it, and, you know, the worst case scenario, you have to pay some money. Like, really? No one's getting locked up in prison. Like, they do all the scare tactics, but worst case scenario, energy out, finance out. But what are you going to look back? How much is it worth to you? What are you going to look back on? I'm not saying I know, and it's all like, you know, dark days and stuff, but there's unlawful government structures and therefore actions at play that are not for the people. And it's an individual personal choice to go, okay, where do I want to stand in this point in history? What do I want to be a part of? Because I hate this, I wouldn't normally say, but it's really is, you're part of the problem. If you're not part of the solution, what's the solution?
And where's the line? You know, is this the line now? They're just testing, and then they move the line, and then they move the line, and you keep complying and you keep complying, because they know that everyone's complying. and they know that they can take away all of our freedoms, which are our freedoms. You can't give them and take them away. So where's your line? You know, like if you don't stand up now, when will you stand up for yourself, for your community, for your family?
And I get it. Some people don't have the energy, the health. Like, these are big things. That's what we've always been about. Like, it really does start with like how you freaking eat, man. Like what you are, what you eat in that sense, and what you like. You know, we're energy. So that's like plant-based for us works because it's sunlight. It's energy, and it's enabled us to like stand up to the level that we have and like naturally have the capacity to do. Some people don't have that. Some people are already got like anxiety, you know, mental conditions, physical conditions. The fear might just be that strong, but there still is it doesn't matter how big a step it is, as long as it's in the direction of the solution. We all do that, and then all of a sudden, you know, we're holding each other up in that sense.
As a community, we step forward.
Exactly, because you can just be voting for the solution by, you know, just showing up in any way, you know, just supporting others. Like, you may not have the knowledge for the power to, you know, hold your position with your mouth, but you can literally do it with your presence, you know.
So powerful. So powerful. I think you guys have really said it all, that you've stood strong for yourselves, you've stood strong for your staff, for your customers, for your community. And so far, it has been a bumpy road, but you've come out the other side. And now, historically speaking, you were the ones that stood firm and you've won, because now you are going to be taking them for unlawful arrest, aren't you?
Yeah, I think it really has to be done. I think it's really important, you know, because all the money that was spent fighting this unlawful arrest in the first place, that will never be refunded, which is quite shocking, that they can do whatever they want and that you have to pay and you have to go through the court system, and then they can just drop it and say, oh, actually, it was nothing, you know. So I think that we do have to hold the police accountable when they do things like this to us.
Compensation comes back around that way, and that's a duty of care on our behalf. There's some people that are unfit for their positions in enforcing the law, especially.
Very
that
good.
Have a duty of care for the general public and themselves, like these officers.
Very good.
Yeah, I don't want this to happen to another cafe in my area or another cafe in Australia. It's not okay.
So you've actually gone from being victimized to now being justice warriors, and you are going to get justice, and that precedent is going to be set so that we can refer to the case of Parson and Parsons versus QPS. And that's what this is all about. And the thing is that I am going to plug what we're doing right now at Fair Business Australia and Rebel News, other places, because we're not the only people fundraising. But as a community, not everybody is going to get arrested. Not everybody is going to have to go to court, but everybody has the power and the finances to be able to do something.
Yeah.
And having informational overload, or even attending a small business mandate meeting, or talking with your groups on social media. I mean, I'm in groups as a guest of like over 500,000 people, and they're just the groups I'm in. Well, what if we were to all shell out $10 each? Yep. We could go to court until the cows come home and win precedents for our community. So the fundraising is hugely important, so that the people that are initially victimised, like yourselves, can stand up and be willing to go through that process and then win for the sake of the people, so that the justice landscape looks entirely different once our children grow up. Because every time the line moves, it gets worse and worse and worse. And if you guys had to just, okay, well, thank God they dropped the charges. Let's just get back to normal. Let's just do what we do. No, because that's a line in the sand. That's abuse of power, and that's it. So I'm just so I'm so in awe that you're willing to push it through as long as you are. And I'm really grateful that the community has been putting finances in so that we can continue to support what you guys are doing, so you can win a precedent for the community to protect the community. So
that's huge thank you to you as well, because I know all the work you do and how many hours you put in. Massive, because that has been a huge part of the reason why me and Ben can do these things, is because people like yourselves step in and, you know, don't really get any recognition or gratitude for it, but you're able to get our message out and you're able to lend support. And so we do feel very held and supported. We know we're not just here, the two of us alone. We have beautiful people constantly offering support and doing what they can. And that's what it's all about. And we will continue to do that for others as well when they go through this. And to know for those business owners, if you are going to take a stand, you will not be alone. You won't be alone, you know, and we've said to many people, if you're going through it, reach out to us and we'll happily chat to you and happily offer our journey and what we've gone through and any advice that we can. You know, that's what it's all about, sticking together. So thank you that you do and all the hard work that you do behind the scenes as well.
Oh, thanks. That's really kind. Thank you. Yeah, that's totally the takeaway, isn't it? That even if you choose to comply, it's actually quite lonely. And if you choose to not comply, there is a very strong, lion-hearted, eagle-soaring community that will have your back. And because of fundraising efforts, we can all pull our resources together to support those who are being singled out. So yeah, it's exciting. It's going to be a wonderful 2022, and we are going to win a lot of ground back that has been lost by sleeping at the wheel, because a lot of us, most of us, have been asleep up until, you know, 20 months ago or 6 months ago or 6 weeks ago. But now we're all waking up. We can regain, we can rebuild, and we will win.
I agree. And what a blessing, you know. Sometimes you need to grow out of that mud.
Oh, that's gold. Hashtag. That's awesome. Yes. Oh, Ben and Sarah, thank you so much for your time. I'm really looking forward to getting you back on when we have some updates, because I think that's also really important when it comes to fundraising money, is that you follow the story through. People need to know what is happening to the seed that I planted. They don't just want to be throwing it off into the chasm of who knows where, and then all of a sudden Rebecca gets a new BMW car or something stupid like that. So we will be following your story and seeing where you're up to, and following other people's stories as well. So thank you so much for your time today. And do you mind? Oh, thanks. Do you mind if I put your link in the description when I put this video live? Is that okay, so people can follow you?
Yeah.
Cool. Beautiful.
All right. Well, thank you both so much, and we'll see you again soon.
Thanks,
Thank you. Thanks, people.